Is your mind still wandering in the worries of yesterday or bracing against the pressure of tomorrow? My dear friend, you have fought enough. In the midst of this noisy modern world, we often carry a misconception that rest is a reward that must be earned through exhaustion. But tonight, I want you to know, peace is not a destination, it is your very essence. As a philosophical current inspired by Kahlil Gibran reminds us, only when one accepts letting go of the effort to control the flow of life can the soul truly be bathed and healed in the great silence. Tonight, let me take your hand and step into a completely different experience. We will not approach the book of James as dry commandments, but will explore this book as the softest pillow for the soul, where faith replaces anxiety and action, gives way to absolute rest. Before we let grace lead the way into sleep, take a second to click subscribe to anchor your soul here in this place of peace. And now, gently close your eyelids, relax your heavy shoulders, take a deep breath, exhale all your troubles, and listen to the sacred promise from the loving one reserved just for you. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Let us begin. My dear friend, allow your body to soften right now. Imagine you are shedding the heavy armor you have had to wear all day long to fend off the outside world. In this moment, in this silent room, there is no one to judge you, no deadlines chasing you, and no pressure forcing you to be strong. You are here, absolutely safe in the embrace of the night, where the stars are guarding your dreams. I know to fall asleep tonight, you are perhaps trying to push aside the cluttered thoughts of the difficulties surrounding you. Life in its truest view has never been a smooth, straight line. There are days when it feels like a sudden storm, sweeping away plans and leaving behind desolate voids in our hearts. You lie down in bed, yet your mind still stands in the eye of the storm. You ask yourself, why me? Why is everything so hard? But tonight, instead of running away or denying those trials, let us try a different approach, an approach of deep healing. Invite those pains to sit beside you, like distant guests bearing a mysterious message. Look at them through the lens of Kahlil Gibran, the poet who saw through the human heart. In his timeless work, The Prophet, he wrote of pain with words as beautiful as a sad yet hopeful hymn. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding, even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. Let those words seep into your subconscious like a cool stream. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Do you see? What you are going through, the loss, the disappointment, or the anxiety, is not the end, nor is it a punishment of fate. It is the sacred cracking of a seed struggling to germinate. Just as the fruit stone must endure pain for the hard shell to crack, allowing the kernel inside to reach for the sun, your soul is also undergoing a process of breaking to receive a new life, a newer, vaster understanding. When you understand that trials are an inevitable part of growth, the resistance within you will dissolve. And when resistance dissolves, your body will automatically relax. Inhale deeply this acceptance and exhale every resentment. And now, as the soil of the soul has been tilled by acceptance, let us sow into it the seed of faith from an ancient and powerful source, the Book of James. This apostle does not come to lull you to sleep with empty promises of a life without thorns. He comes to hand you a spiritual weapon, a shield so you may rest even when the storm has not yet passed. Listen to his paradoxical yet liberating advice. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. James Pebbers, Psalm 1:2. Pure joy. Sounds strange, doesn't it? How can we be joyful when the heart hurts, when pockets are empty, or when the future is dim? But the joy James speaks of here is not the fleeting excitement of the world. It is a state of deep stillness, an internal conviction that this storm did not come to kill me. It came to refine me. Visualize your mind as a furnace. The current worries and pressures are the fire. But you are not a stick of wood being burnt to ash. You are pure gold being refined. James explains further, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. James 1:3-4. Tonight, let the word perseverance become the soft pillow supporting your head. Perseverance is not bracing yourself to endure until exhaustion. Perseverance, in the view of soul therapy, is the ability to maintain peace in the center of the storm. It is when you say to yourself, I am being perfected. Every shard, every scratch from today is a stroke of the great goldsmith, carving you to become mature and complete. Sleep is the time God grants you to rest between rounds. You do not need to solve the problems of an entire lifetime tonight. You have done the best you can. Now is the time to entrust this process of refining to the Most High. Imagine you are bundling all those challenges, the rough stones of today, into a wooden box. You gently close the lid and place it at the foot of the bed. You no longer have to carry it. God will watch over that box while you sleep. A feeling of lightness is spreading from the top of your head down to your shoulders, running along your spine and reaching every toe. The tension vanishes, giving way to the silent joy of trust. You deserve to rest, not because you have finished everything, but because you are a masterpiece in progress. And that masterpiece needs rest for the new paint to dry, for the bonding points to heal. In this peaceful space, as we have learned to view trials as a stern but kind companion, our minds begin to settle. But the journey into deep sleep still faces one more obstacle. A subtler obstacle, not coming from the outside, but rising from the very undercurrents within us. That is when the faith just kindled is suddenly shaken by the winds of doubt, making the soul toss like a small boat in a vast ocean. We are drifting on the current of consciousness. Can you feel it? Sometimes, even when your body lies motionless on a soft mattress, your mind still sways as if seasick. It is the unsteady feeling of a soul seeking answers, but receiving only silence. Questions like, what if? I should have. What will tomorrow be like? Keep bobbing up and down, drifting you far away from the shores of peaceful sleep. The book of James names this state with a majestic, yet unsettling natural image. He does not use dry psychological terms, but paints a vivid ink wash painting to describe your mood right now. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. James 1:6. Visualize your mind as that vast ocean. When doubt creeps in, you become a wave of the sea, a solitary white-capped wave. Look at that wave. It has no will of its own. It is blown by the wind of circumstance, the wind of rumors, the wind of pressure in any direction. One moment soaring high in false hope, the next plummeting into the abyss of despair. Blown and tossed. It is an utter exhaustion. How can a screaming wave, being torn apart by 100 different winds, find rest? The doubt James speaks of, or the state of being double-minded, is the root cause of anxiety-induced insomnia. It is when you want to believe that everything will be okay, yet silently prepare a script for collapse. You stand with one foot in and one foot out, trying to balance on two boats drifting in different directions. That internal conflict consumes immense energy, causing the brain to overheat instead of sinking into relaxation. Kahlil Gibran, the artist of the soul, also saw this brutal war within each human being. He understood that before finding peace with the world, one must call a truce with oneself. In The Prophet, he wrote, "Your soul is oftentimes a battlefield upon which your reason and your judgment and your passion wage war against your appetite and your greed. Tonight, weary friend, I know your soul is a battlefield. Reason tells you to sleep, but fear wakes you up. Faith wants you to let go, but control forces you to hold tight. How can the noise of that internal battle lull you to sleep? But do not worry. We are not here to describe the pain and leave it be. We are here to find the antidote. If doubt is the storm, then what is the anchor?" The book of James offers a surprisingly simple guide, yet it is the golden key opening the door to silence. Ask for wisdom. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. James chapter 1:5. Let every word of this promise sink deep into your subconscious. The wisdom here is not book knowledge, nor is it the intelligence to solve a specific problem. Biblical wisdom is the clear view from above, the ability to see the big picture God is painting, even when you are standing in the dark. Asking for wisdom is the act of dropping the anchor. It is the whispered conviction. I do not know where the wind blows, but I know the one who holds the wind. And the most comforting, most healing part of this verse lies in the phrase, without finding fault. You know, often when we are anxious, we blame ourselves for being anxious. We feel guilty for lacking faith, for being weak. But the Creator, the one who loves your sleep, does not blame you. He does not look at you with judgment when you tremble. He understands the limitations of being human. He grants you peace generously, abundantly, lavishly, fully. Right now, let us practice the exercise of dropping the mental anchor. Imagine you are slowly sinking below the surface of that agitated sea. On the surface, the wind may still be blowing, the waves may still be crashing, the worries of life may still be there. But you are no longer on the surface. You are sinking deep, deeper, into the heart of the deep blue ocean. At this depth, the water becomes absolutely still. No noise from the outside world can reach here. This is the depth of faith, where doubt dissolves, giving way to the divine presence. You are no longer the wave played by the wind. You are the vast, calm, profound ocean, holding immense power. Listen to your heartbeat slowing down, merging with the rhythm of the eternal ocean. Kahlil Gibran once described this silent depth which holds knowledge beyond all fear. In the depth of your hopes and desires lies your silent knowledge of the beyond, and like seeds dreaming beneath the snow, your heart dreams of spring. In that depth, you have a silent knowledge. You know that winter will pass. You know that the cold snow is merely a blanket warming the seed of spring. You know that every problem will have a solution when the dawn breaks. Your only task right now is to trust in the law of spring and sleep peacefully under the white snow of grace. Feel the anchor of wisdom and trust gripping the solid rock at the bottom of the sea. The boat of your mind no longer rocks. The anchor rope draws taut, holding you in the safe zone. You are secure. You are enveloped. You are unconditionally loved. And when the wind stops screaming, when the waves stop crashing, the surface of your mind gradually becomes flat. Flat as a giant crystal mirror stretching into infinity. This silence is not just for sleeping, but for reflecting. For only when the water is calm can we see the truest reflection of ourselves. But alas, seeing is one thing, but remembering and living true to that noble image is another challenge. How many of us, after a peaceful night, hurriedly turn away and forget the divine self we just found in the mirror? In this space of absolute silence, when the sea of your mind is as flat as a sheet, it becomes a giant mirror. Imagine bending down, looking into that water. What do you see? Do you see your tired face after a long day? Or do you see the wrinkles of anxiety, the heavy eyes of calculation? No, my dear friend, that is not you. That is just the dust of the world clinging to you. Tonight, the book of James invites us to look into another mirror, the mirror of truth, to see our true radiant and peaceful self. But this apostle also issues a warning full of imagery about the greatest tragedy of modern man, forgetfulness. He writes, "Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in a mirror and, after looking at himself, goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like." James Center 1:23-24. Reflect on the image, immediately forgets what he looks like. This is the deep root of constant insecurity. Every night, perhaps you turn to meditations, to prayers, and you find a little peace. In that moment, you look in the mirror and see yourself as a child who is loved and protected. You see your soul as inherently vast and still. But then, when dawn breaks, or simply when an anxious thought strikes, you hurriedly turn away. You step out of the silence, rush into the hustle of life, and immediately, you forget who you are. You forget that you are the ocean, and start acting like a panicked wave again. You forget that you have the anchor of wisdom, and let the wind blow you away. Listening to the word, but not doing it, as James mentions in the context of soul therapy, is knowing about peace, but not living in the frequency of peace. You know you need to let go, but your hands still clench tight. You know you deserve rest, but your mind keeps racing. Kahlil Gibran, with the delicate sensitivity of an Eastern sage, deeply understood this connection between the human being and this reflection. He did not view the mirror as an inanimate object, but as the place where eternity appears. In his masterpiece, The Prophet, when speaking of beauty, he wrote, "Beauty is eternity gazing at itself in a mirror, but you are eternity, and you are the mirror." Let this phrase echo in your heart. You are eternity and you are the mirror. Your true nature is not this temporary anxiety. Your essence is eternity, beauty, and divine silence. Worries about money, work, or relationships are just clouds passing before the mirror. They are not the face of the mirror, and certainly not the reflection within it. So how do we heal this malady of forgetfulness? How do we keep that peaceful image even as we fall asleep and wake up tomorrow? The answer lies in mindfulness. Tonight, when you look into God's promise, look closely. Etch that peaceful image into your subconscious. Do not just glance, gaze at your spiritual face, a face with no wrinkles of fear, no shadow of doubt. It is the face of one who is forgiven, accepted, and unconditionally loved. Say to yourself, "This is me. This is the truth about me. I am not my troubles. I am the peace observing those troubles." When you begin to remember who you are, sleep will come naturally, because a child, knowing it is in its mother's arms, does not need to try to sleep. It sleeps because it knows it is safe. That safety comes from knowing, from remembering. Do not be like the man in James's example, seeing peace, and then turning away into the desert of anxiety. Stay here. Camp right before this mirror. Let the image of eternity, of grace, be the last thing you see before closing your eyes, and the first thing you remember when you wake up. When we stop forgetting and start etching the truth into our hearts, a miraculous transformation takes place. We are no longer passive listeners seeking only temporary comfort. We become practitioners of freedom. And this freedom, a beautiful concept James calls the perfect law of freedom, will be the final key opening the door to a blessed sleep where action and rest merge, where we find blessing right in our very stillness. O traveler on the river of consciousness, we have stood together before the mirror of truth, and we have chosen not to turn away and then forget. Now step through that mirror. Step into a deeper dimension where the burdens of must do, must achieve, must prove completely vanish. That place is called by the book of James with a beautiful and mysterious name, the perfect law of freedom. Listen to this wonderful promise, a promise that will be the warmest blanket covering your soul tonight. But whoever looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they have heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do. James 1:25. There is a healing paradox here. Often when hearing of law, we think of constraints, strict rules, and the fear of punishment. That very mindset has kept you stressed all day long. But James speaks of a different kind of law, the perfect law that gives freedom. Why does law bring freedom? Imagine a fish living underwater. Water is its environment, its law. When the fish is in the water, it is free to swim. If it tries to live on land, contrary to its nature, it will suffer and suffocate. Likewise, your soul is designed to live in the environment of grace and trust. When you are anxious, you're trying to breathe on land. When you let go and trust God, you return to your waters. That is the law of freedom. Tonight, doing it does not mean you must jump up and work. No. In the sacred context of sleep, the highest act of faith is a rest. When you decide to close your eyes, relax your shoulders, and entrust tomorrow to God, you are being the greatest doer. You are acting upon the truth that God is the one who keeps you, not your worrying. The act of sleeping well is the strongest declaration. I trust you. Kahlil Gibran, who always saw divine beauty in labor and action, once said in The Prophet, "Work is love made visible." And if you cannot work with love, but only with distaste, it is better that you should leave your work and sit at the gate of the temple and take alms of those who work with joy. Work is love made visible. Apply this philosophy to your sleep. Tonight, let your sleep be faith made visible. Do not sleep with distaste for yesterday or fear of tomorrow. Enter into sleep as an act of love for yourself and reverence for the Creator. When you do this, when you continue in it, James's final promise will be fulfilled in you. They will be blessed in what they do. The state of being blessed here is not just external luck. It is the state of Makarios, in the original Greek, a deep, self-contained happiness, independent of circumstances. You will be blessed right in your sleep. Your sleep will no longer be an exhausting escape, but a fountain of restoration. You will wake up not with a feeling of heaviness, but with the fresh energy of one who has been fully charged by eternal peace. Now, let me lead you through the final door of this chapter. Feel the freedom spreading in every cell. No more burdens on your shoulders. Exhale. No more waves in your mind. Relax. No more forgetfulness separating you from your peaceful self. Sink deep. You're drifting in the river of the law of freedom. That river is gently carrying you away, drifting toward the land of healing dreams. Today's trials have receded, becoming harmless little dots on the shore. You are safe. You are loved. You have completed today's journey excellently. Recall our opening words. Count it all joy. Now that joy is no longer a command to strive for. It has become a gentle melody, lulling you to sleep. Sleep, warrior of light. Sleep in the assurance that you are not alone. The prayer of James and the insight of Gibran will be two sentinels guarding your dreams tonight. And tomorrow, when the first sunlight touches your eyelids, you will not forget. You will look in the mirror and smile, because you remember clearly who you are. A beloved child of the universe, one refined through trials to become mature and complete, not lacking anything. Peace be with you. Good night. Welcome back to the sacred space of rest. Listen to your breath, in and out. A simple rhythm, yet holding life. In this moment, your breath is exactly like the breath of a king, and no different from the breath of a poor traveler. Night is an absolutely fair friend. When the lights go out and eyes close, all boundaries of rich and poor, high and low, success or failure are blurred. However, I know that to truly feel that soothing equality, your mind must undergo a courageous casting off. By day, we wear too many layers: the cloak of titles, the cloak of responsibilities, the cloak of social expectations. We are exhausted from playing our roles in the drama of life. And when night falls, fear silently creeps in. Am I good enough? Will others judge me? Comparison and discrimination are not just social issues. They are the poison that kills our sleep. The book of James, with loving candor, touches this wound right in the opening lines of chapter 2. He brings us into a scene that perhaps feels very familiar in your subconscious. The contrast between a man wearing a gold ring and fine clothes and a poor man in filthy old clothes. But his advice is not merely a moral lesson, but a prescription for a soul weighed down by the pressure of status. My brothers and sisters, believers in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ, must not show favoritism. James 2:1 must not show favoritism. In the context of soul therapy, this advice carries a deeper meaning. Do not favor glamorous thoughts while shunning the impoverished emotions within you. Often, we only welcome thoughts of success and strength, the man with the gold ring, into our minds, and try to banish and judge the sadness, weakness, or hurt the poor man. We discriminate right within the home of our own soul. This internal rejection creates conflict, and conflict cannot sleep peacefully. Tonight, practice absolute tolerance. Invite the poor man within you, the weakest, most tired, most inadequate part, to sit in the most honored seat of rest. Say to that trembling soul, "You are welcome here. You do not need to wear a gold ring to deserve good sleep. You deserve it simply because you exist." Kahlil Gibran, who always saw divine light in the simplest things, reminded us of the true value of a human being, transcending wealth and status. In The Prophet, when speaking of giving, he wrote, "You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give." Reflect on this saying. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. Wealth, status, or the gold rings James mentions are merely possessions. They are not you. When you enter into sleep, you must leave all those possessions outside the bedroom door. You cannot take fame into your dreams. The only thing you take with you is yourself, naked and true. If you are tossing and turning because you feel inferior to others or anxious about losing your current status, listen to the powerful whisper of James. Has not God chosen those who are poor in the eyes of the world to be rich in faith and to inherit the kingdom he promised those who love him? James 2:5. This is a spectacular reversal of values. In the kingdom of sleep and peace, the rich are not those with much money, but those who are rich in faith. Faith that you are loved. Faith that tomorrow will be taken care of. Faith that your value lies not in the ring on your hand, but in the beat of your heart. Imagine you are standing before a great gate leading into the garden of sleep. Beside the gate is a basket. To pass through, you must place all your titles into it. You take off the mask of the achiever, place it in the basket. You take off the burden of pleasing others, place it in the basket. You take off the fear of being judged, place it in the basket. Your body suddenly becomes light. You are no longer a director, no longer an employee, no longer a celebrity or a nobody. You are simply a soul. And the soul has no boundaries of rich or poor. The soul has only the desire to connect and to rest. This liberation from prejudice leads us to the royal law that James mentions. Love your neighbor as yourself. Tonight, the nearest neighbor you need to love is yourself. Love yourself the way God loves the poor, not judging the outward appearance, but cherishing the core value within. When you accept letting go of discrimination, your mind will stop comparing. When comparison stops, brain waves slow down. The competition of the day gives way to the unity of the night. You feel yourself merging with the flow of the universe, where all rivers flow into the same great sea, distinguishing not between muddy or clear streams. But my dear friend, the peace of being yourself is only the beginning. Once we have cast off the camouflage and found our true worth, we face a deeper question. Faith and love cannot remain mere soothing emotions lying still in the chest. If we say we have faith, but our lives are as still as a dead lake, Is that true peace? Or is it a sign of spiritual paralysis? For sleep to truly become a source of regenerative energy, our faith needs to breathe, needs to move. But how to act without breaking the rest? That is the secret we will explore as we look into the vitality of a genuine faith. We are drifting in a space where all masks have been removed. Do you feel lighter? But, oh friend seeking perfect sleep, there is another subtle truth we must face to reach the deepest level of rest. It is the unity between the heart and the hands. You see, one of the biggest causes of fitful sleep is a sense of incompleteness or subconscious guilt. It is when deep down you believe in goodness, your heart is moved by compassion, but during the day you have not yet, or hesitated to, turn those movements into action. The gap between what I believe and what I do creates a void, and anxiety often resides right in that void. The book of James, with a voice as powerful as thunder echoing through a valley, wakes us from the slumber of complacency. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? James 2:14, and he delivers a shattering conclusion. In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. James 2:17. Faith is dead. This phrase, though it sounds heavy, is actually a precise medical diagnosis for a weary soul. Visualize it this way. Faith is like inhaling. You inhale grace, inhale understanding, inhale love, but action is exhaling. If you only inhale without exhaling, you will suffocate. That blockage is the state of dead faith, a source of energy that is stagnant, not circulating, causing heaviness in the chest. Kahlil Gibran, who always sought harmony between the inner and outer worlds, also understood the pain of knowing but not doing. He realized that when people cannot express themselves through action, they fall into the restlessness of empty speech. In The Prophet, he wrote, "You talk when you cease to be at peace with your thoughts, and when you can no longer dwell in the solitude of your heart, you live in your lips, and sound is a diversion and a pastime." Notice the line, "You talk when you cease to be at peace with your thoughts." Is it true that sometimes sleepless nights are when you talk to yourself the most? Your mind is noisy, arguing, justifying. That is a sign that there is unreleased energy. You have inhaled good intentions, but you have not exhaled through specific acts of love. And that excess energy is turning back to disturb your sleep. But tonight, we are not here to judge the shortcomings of yesterday. We are here to clear the flow. James gives a very mundane yet haunting example. Suppose a brother or a sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, "Go in peace, keep warm and well fed," but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? James 2:15-16. The wish, "Go in peace," without a warm coat or a loaf of bread, is just a hollow sound. And that very hollowness creates an uncomfortable echo in the speaker's soul. You cannot sleep well if you have just wished someone peace, but left them in hunger, because conscience, God's compass placed within you, will vibrate with a warning. So, what is the therapy for tonight? It is intentional commitment. If today you missed a beat of exhaling, if you saw a need but turned away, do not torment yourself. Self-torment is another form of dead faith. Instead, perform a ritual of commitment right now. Place your hand on your heart. Visualize the person or the task to which you feel you owe an act of kindness. In this safe space, say to them, I apologize for my delay. Tomorrow, when the dawn breaks, I will act. I will turn my belief into hands that uplift. This promise, when spoken with sincerity, will close the gap of anxiety. It reconnects the circuit between faith and deeds. You shift from a state of blockage to a state of readiness. Kahlil Gibran once praised the beauty of action. Always you have been told that work is a curse and labor a misfortune. But I say to you that when you work, you fulfill a part of Earth's furthest dream assigned to you when that dream was born. When you commit to action, you are fulfilling a part of Earth's furthest dream. You are in rhythm with the universe, and there is no sedative more powerful than the feeling of knowing you are a useful part of the whole. James concludes his argument with a powerful biological image. As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. James 2:26. The body, deeds, and the spirit, faith, must go together to create life. Tonight, let faith be the spirit lulling your body to sleep. Believe that you are a good person on a journey of completion. Believe that the seeds of goodness you cherish in your heart will sprout tomorrow. When the internal conflict is resolved, the noise in your head will settle. You no longer need to talk to fill them a void. You return to the solitude of your heart that Gibran mentioned. There is no noise there, only the gentle beat of consistency. This consistency creates a soft bed where you can lay back without fear of the nightmares of hypocrisy disturbing you. You are authentic, and the authentic deserve a peaceful sleep. But to engrave this truth, to see clearly that action does not need to be grand and distant things, but sometimes the bravest and strangest decisions, let us look to the past. Let us look at two completely contrasting lives, yet meeting at one point. They dared to step out of their comfort zone to prove their faith was alive. One was a great patriarch, and the other was a woman rejected by society. In the quiet space of the night, when all social boundaries have faded, let the ancient stories step gently to your bedside. They do not come to judge, but to comfort. They whisper to you that, whoever you are, whether you are at the peak of fame or hiding in the dark corner of inferiority, peace still has a path reserved just for you. The book of James places two completely opposite people side by side on the same scale of faith. On one side is Abraham revered as God's friend. On the other is Rahab, a prostitute, a woman on the margins of society. What united them? What turned them into lighthouses illuminating our sleep tonight? It was action, but not the action of busyness, but the action of absolute trust. Let us start with Abraham. James writes, "Was not our father Abraham considered righteous for what he did when he offered his son Isaac on the altar?" James 2:21. Offered his son on the altar. In the language of soul therapy, this story is the highest metaphor for surrender. Isaac was the child of promise, the hope, the future, the most precious thing Abraham had. Placing Isaac on the altar meant Abraham accepted letting go of control. He accepted trusting that the giver of life also has the power to preserve life, even when everything seems to reach a dead end. Tonight, what is your Isaac? Is it the passionate project you fear will fail? Is it the child you are ceaselessly worried about? Or is it your health, your finances, your honor? Sleep in a sacred way is your altar tonight. To enter deep sleep, you must learn to do as Abraham did. Place your most precious things, your greatest worries upon this bed, and withdraw your hands. You cannot hold them tight and sleep at the same time. You must believe that when you let go, God will receive. Kahlil Gibran, in The Prophet, wrote a beautiful passage about the relationship between parents and children, but it is also true for the relationship between us and what we create. He likens humans to bows, and children, or our worries, to arrows, and God to the archer. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. Let your bending be for gladness. Abraham endured that bending in the trial. He trusted the archer. And what was the result? James says, "You see that his faith and his actions were working together, and his faith was made complete by what he did." James 2:22. When you let go of control tonight, your faith is made complete. Peace will come to replace the fear of loss. You lose nothing. You are simply entrusting it into the hands of the Almighty. But perhaps you will say, "I am not Abraham. I am not great. I have a past full of stains. Do I deserve peace?" The answer lies in the second character, Rahab. James continues, "In the same way was not even Rahab the prostitute considered righteous for what she did when she gave lodging to the spies and sent them off in a different direction." James 2:25. Rahab had nothing to offer like Abraham. She had no reputation, no moral perfection by human standards. She had only one thing, the courage to pick a side. She dared to open her home to welcome strangers from God, and she hung a scarlet cord by the window as a sign of faith in salvation. If Abraham's action was surrender, then Rahab's action was opening the heart and seeking refuge. She knew she was not safe relying on the crumbling walls of Jericho. She sought safety in God's promise. O friend who feels unworthy tonight, look at Rahab. Your bedroom is Rahab's house. Your prayer is the scarlet cord hanging by the window. Whatever your past, however the outside world judges you, when you hang the cord of trust, you're safe. The walls of anxiety may fall, but your soul will be protected intact. Rahab's act of faith teaches us that it is never too late to believe. It is never too lowly to be saved. Good sleep is not a reward reserved for the holy, but grace for anyone who dares to trust. Visualize those two images merging in your mind right now. A man on a mountain letting go of his beloved child, looking up to the sky with ironclad trust. A woman at a window, tying a scarlet cord, looking out into the night with fragile yet resilient hope. Both found righteousness, that is, peace with God, inner peace. They did not just believe in their heads. They did with their whole hearts. Abraham offered. Rahab received. Tonight, do both. Offer your burdens to God, like Abraham, and receive his protection into the room of your soul, like Rahab. When these two streams meet the outgoing stream of surrender and the incoming stream of peace, a perfect balance is established. That is the state of spiritual homeostasis. Your body, inherently intelligent and sensitive, will recognize this safety signal. The heart rate will slow down. The breath will deepen. The muscles that were tense from trying to hold tight, like Abraham before letting go, or defend, like Rahab before believing, are now relaxed. You see, faith and deeds are not dry theological concepts. They are the heartbeat of life. They are the dance of rest. But for this music to end perfectly, for sleep to truly become a regenerative experience, we need a final affirmation, a conclusion that binds the physical body lying here with the eternal soul within, just as breath binds to life. O fellow traveler, we have walked together through the valleys of doubt, cast off the heavy cloaks of status, and learned to let go like Abraham and open our hearts like Rahab. Now, feel the space around you. Everything has settled. The air seems to pause, waiting for the final piece of the picture of peace. That piece lies in the philosophical conclusion of the book of James. As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. James 2:26. The body without the spirit is dead. Tonight, let me interpret this as a gentle piece of music for your sleep. James is not threatening us with death. He is speaking of life. He is reminding us of the inseparable connection between the shell, the body, and speech, and the breath, the spirit, and action. You know, insomnia often happens when this connection is broken. It is when your body lies here, but your soul is wandering in the past or the future. It is when you want to sleep, will, but the body refuses, reaction. It is when your faith is just dry theory, not enough to warm a cold heart. But when faith and deeds merge, a miracle happens. Kahlil Gibran, with his wonderfully sensitive soul, likened the human body to a sacred instrument. In The Prophet, he wrote, "Your body is the harp of your soul, and it is yours to bring forth sweet music from it or confused sounds." Imagine your body, your shoulders, chest, legs, stretching out on the bed is the harp, and your soul, along with your faith, is the musician. If your faith is dead, that is, passive, anxious, doubting, the sound produced will be confused sounds, causing restlessness and tossing. But tonight, we have awakened living faith. We have committed to action. We have chosen to trust. And now that faith is strumming sweet music on your every nerve. Listen, the melody of forgiveness is soothing your forehead. The melody of surrender is massaging your tired shoulders. The melody of trust is spreading warmth down to your chest and belly. That is harmony. That is when the body and spirit meet in an embrace of rest. The deeds James mentions in this moment are no longer about running out to do something external. The ultimate action of faith right now is restoration. When you sleep well, you are acting. You are allowing God to regenerate your energy so that tomorrow you can live a useful life. A deep sleep is the declaration. I believe you are in control, so I can rest. Inhale deeply. Inhale the life of faith, and exhale gently. Exhale peace through every action of the body. Heart rate slowing, muscles softening. You are no longer a detached machine. You are a complete unity. The conflict between wanting to do and not doing has vanished. The distance between the rich man and the poor man in the mind has been leveled. You are Abraham on the mountain, and you are Rahab by the window. You are all and you are nothing but a tiny soul being embraced by the universe. In this silence, James's promise of a living faith becomes a soft blanket. It protects you from the coldness of meaninglessness. You know that when dawn breaks, you will wake up not only with a healthy body, but with a zealous spirit. You will step out into the world, and your hands will do what your heart believes. That is wholeness, and wholeness is the softest cradle for sleep. Now, let me count down, leading you deeper into this land of unity. Each number is a step taking you away from the shores of consciousness, drifting gently toward the ocean of the peaceful subconscious. 5. Feel the pleasant weight of your body. You are the harp lying still, waiting for the fingers of the night to play a lullaby. 4. Your breath becomes rhythmic, like waves gently lapping the sand. Faith without deeds is dead, but your faith is living, breathing in every rise and fall of your chest. 3. Every thought, every calculation, every judgment dissolves like mist. Only presence remains, here and now. 2. You sink deeper, deeper into the palm of the Creator. There is no fear there, only vast love and unconditional acceptance. 1. Peace, wholeness, good night. Let your dream tonight be the continuation of faith. Let your rest be the most brilliant action. Peace be with you. Welcome back. Listen to the space around you right now. Has the outside world faded its noisy clamor? The sounds of traffic, train whistles, hurried footsteps, all have given way to the quiet symphony of the night. But I know there is a place where the noise has not yet rested. That is within your mind. There are nights when the soft pillow suddenly turns into sharp thorns, not because of physical pain, but because the words of yesterday keep echoing. Slips of the tongue, heated arguments, or even the harsh self-judgment you reserve for yourself. They linger like ghosts, pulling you away from sweet dreams. You lie there, replaying old conversations, wishing you could take back a sentence, or wishing you had been brave enough to speak a word of love. The book of James, with its piercing insight into the human heart, dedicates the entire 3rd chapter to this issue. He does not begin with blame, but with a loving warning about the terrifying power of a very small thing, the tongue. But tonight, in the therapy of sleep, let us understand it more broadly. It is not just the physical tongue, but the language of the soul. Before entering into James's counsel, let the philosopher Kahlil Gibran help us understand why speaking too much, whether aloud or silently in the head, kills peace. In his work The Prophet, he wrote, "And in much of your talking, thinking is half murdered, for thought is a bird of space, that in a cage of words may indeed unfold its wings but cannot fly." Reflect on this beautiful and sorrowful image. In a cage of words, your thoughts and emotions are inherently a bird of space, free and soaring. But when you try to frame them with words, especially words of complaint, anxiety, or resentment, you are locking the bird of your soul into a narrow cage. You cannot sleep well when your soul is imprisoned and struggling within the cage of negative words. So, how do we open the cage door? How do we tame the thoughts running wild in your head, causing your heart to race and your breath to quicken? James offers a classic, yet incredibly powerful metaphor to answer this question. He speaks not of silencing or suppressing, but of guidance. Listen to his words. When we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. James 3:3. Visualize a mighty warhorse, rippling muscles, flying hooves, full of power and wild energy. That horse is your emotions and your life. It is much larger than you, much stronger than your will. If left to run wild, it can plunge into the abyss of insomnia and exhaustion. But look, what controls that immense power? It is not the strength of the rider, but the tiny bit placed in its mouth. That tiny bit is your self-talk tonight. If you lie in bed and whisper to yourself the bit, "I am so worried, tomorrow will be a disaster, I cannot sleep," you are yanking the reins, causing the horse of emotion to rear up in panic. Your body, the whole animal, will tense up, cortisol will release, and sleep will flee. But conversely, if you change that bit, if you gently place words of grace into your mind, "I am safe, I am loved, everything will be fine, God is keeping me." Just those few small words, but they have the power to turn the whole animal. The wild horse within your heart will feel the gentle guidance. It will slow down, walk leisurely, and finally lie down on the lush green grass of sleep. This is the secret of soul therapy. You do not need to struggle to crush anxiety. That is like trying to wrestle the horse. You only need to change the bit, that is, change the slightest word you are whispering to yourself right now. Let us practice right now. Instead of saying, "I am so tired, but I cannot sleep," yanking the reins hard, whisper, "My body is resting, and sleep will come when it is ready." Loosening the reins. Kahlil Gibran also reminds us of the silence needed to rediscover ourselves after the noise of words. There are those among you who seek the talkative through fear of being alone with themselves. The silence of aloneness reveals to their eyes their naked selves, and they would flee. Do not fear the silence of aloneness. Do not fear being alone with yourself. When you use soothing words, the bit of love to guide your mind, silence is no longer frightening. It becomes a soft blanket wrapping your naked selves. Tonight, check the bit in the mouth of the horse of your mind. What is it made of? Of the cold iron of criticism, or the pure gold of tolerance? Choose healing words. Speak to yourself the words you long to hear from your most beloved. Because though that word is small, it is directing the immense flow of energy within your body. When the horse of emotion has been tamed by gentle whispers, it begins to walk rhythmically into the land of dreams. But our journey does not stop at the meadow. Life is not just solid ground. Life is also a vast ocean with sudden storms. And to cross that ocean, we need another metaphor. One even more powerful, regarding the ability to navigate amidst the myriad waves. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, imagine your bed gently swaying. No longer on rigid ground, you're floating. Life in its deepest view is like a vast ocean, both magnificent and unpredictable. There are days when the sea is calm, but also days like your day today, perhaps when winds of pressure and raging waves of worry rush in. Standing before the vastness and ferocity of circumstance, humans often feel so small. You feel helpless, as if you are just a dry leaf being swept away aimlessly. You lie down to sleep with the fear that this storm is too big. I cannot withstand it. But, O Captain of the soul, the book of James doesn't want you to sleep in that fear. He invites you to look at another image, one that will return power to your hands. Observe the giant ships, or take ships as an example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants to go. James 3:4. Contemplate this miraculous contrast. So large and driven by strong winds, that is the reality of your life. Debts, emotional cracks, illnesses. They are as huge as the ship and as strong as the wind. But the direction of the ship is determined neither by its size nor by the direction of the wind. It is determined by a very small rudder. And that rudder, my dear friend, is your word. More precisely, it is the affirmations, the prayers you utter tonight. If you say, "I am finished, I will never get through this," you are steering the ship of your life to crash into a reef. Even if the wind pushes you, it is you who decides the collision. Conversely, if in the eye of the storm you still whisper, "God is my refuge, I am at peace, I will find a solution," you are steering the ship toward a safe harbor. You cannot control the wind, but you have full control over the rudder. And the good news is, you do not need muscle power to turn the rudder. You only need a very gentle touch. A whisper of "I choose peace right now" has the power to change the entire trajectory of your sleep. Kahlil Gibran, who always saw the divine connection between man and the ocean, wrote in The Prophet about this internal mechanism in language as beautiful as poetry. Your reason and your passion are the rudder and the sails of your seafaring soul. If either your sails or your rudder be broken, you can but toss and drift, or else be held at a standstill in mid-seas. Your seafaring soul. Gibran likens passion to the sails and reason to the rudder. Look back. Are you sleepless because the sails of your emotions are billowing in the storm, but the rudder of your reason is broken or neglected? You leave the ship to be dragged everywhere by anxious emotions. Toss and drift. That is exactly the feeling of a tossing night. Tonight, let us fix the rudder. Do not try to lower the sails. Let emotions exist. But take hold of the rudder. The pilot, James mentions, is your free will. Where do you want to go tonight? Do you want to drift to the land of past regrets? Or do you want to steer the ship to the island of rest? Practice the steering ritual. Close your eyes. Visualize yourself standing in the wheelhouse of the ship of your life. Outside the glass, rain may be falling, the wind may be howling, but inside, your hands are placed firmly on the warm wooden wheel. You do not panic. You know that just inching the wheel a little to the right, the ship will cut through the waves. Whisper, "Turn right toward peace." Whisper, "Turn right toward hope." Every positive word you utter now is like a degree of tilt of the rudder. The giant ship begins to turn. Slowly, deliberately, but surely. You feel the shift in inertia. The waves no longer hit the side of the ship, but are pushing you faster toward the destination. The power of words lies in that they are a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you speak of rest, your body hears it and begins to shut down alarm systems. When you speak of trust, your soul hears it and drops anchor. Never underestimate whispers in the night. James warns us about the power of the tongue, not to threaten, but to empower. If a small rudder can take a giant ship across the ocean, then a short prayer, "Lord, grant me good sleep," also has enough power to carry you through the long night. You are in more control than you think. You're not a victim of the storm. You are a seasoned captain steering through the storm by the power of words. Hold that wheel steady. Keep loving words on your lips and in your heart. The ship is gliding more smoothly now. Ahead is the lighthouse of sweet dreams. However, O Captain, I must also warn you. This rudder, magical as it is is a neutral tool. If used with wisdom, it takes us to the harbor of peace. But if neglected, if anger or bitterness is allowed to take the wheel, that tiny tongue turns into another terrifying weapon of destruction. No longer water, but fire. A fire that can consume a whole green forest of blessings in an instant. We have just strolled on the cool ocean with the rudder of hope. But I know the human mind is a complex land. Sometimes right in the middle of the open sea, you feel like you are on fire. Is it true that tonight, the reason you cannot sleep yet is because an invisible fire is smoldering in your chest? It could be a poisonous word someone threw at you today. Or more painfully, a sharp word you accidentally unleashed in anger, so that now, when night falls, regret returns to burn your heart. The book of James does not hesitate to name this destructive state with a haunting metaphor, a shocking wake-up call for souls wounded by words. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. James 3:5-6. A small spark, a great forest. Visualize the forest of your mind. It is where you cultivate relationships, good feelings, the reputation you have built for years. It is the lush, cool forest of your life. But it only takes a moment of lost control. A thoughtless sentence, the spark, and that whole forest can burst into flames. In sleep medicine, this state is called physiological arousal, caused by negative emotions. When you lie thinking about the argument, your brain cannot distinguish between past and present. It reactivates the entire fire. Rapid heartbeat, increased body temperature, tense muscles. You are lying in bed, but your body is inside a forest fire. How can anyone sleep well in a sea of fire? But my friend, I am not here to condemn you for that fire. I am here to bring cool water. Before extinguishing the fire, we need to understand its origin. Why do we speak hurtful words? Why does the tongue become a fire? Kahlil Gibran, with deep compassion for human flaws, saw the pain hidden behind that fierceness. He did not view the speaker of malicious words as evil, but as a suffering soul. In the prophet he wrote, "For what is evil, but good tortured by its own hunger and thirst?" Let this saying soothe the torment within you. When you or someone speak harsh words, it is usually not the true nature. It is the cry of an unmet need, the hunger to be understood, the thirst to be loved. The fire of anger is actually the fire of suppressed pain. Understanding this is the first step to cooling down. You are not a ruthless arsonist. You are just a person who is hurt and accidentally dropped a spark. And James continues, a truth that seems hopeless, but is the key to liberation. All kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and sea creatures are being tamed and have been tamed by mankind, but no human being can tame the tongue. James 3:7-8. No human being can tame the tongue. At first hearing, this is terrifying. If no one can tame it, are we resigned to letting it burn our lives? No. The therapeutic meaning here is, human strength is limited. You cannot extinguish this fire by yourself, by straining or self-flagellation. Trying to suppress thoughts only adds fuel to the fire. The only way to extinguish this hellish fire, as James calls it, is to rely on a source of water from heaven. That is grace and forgiveness. Tonight, let us perform the ritual of the rain of silence. Close your eyes. Imagine you are standing before the blazing forest of your mind. You feel the heat, the suffocation of smoke, the crackling of fracturing relationships. Do not run away. Stand there, and instead of trying to fight the fire with bare hands, look up at the dark night sky. Whisper, "I cannot control this fire. I offer it to you." And from the sky of mercy, raindrops begin to fall. First a drizzle, then heavier drops. They are the cool drops of forgiveness. Forgive the person who threw the spark at you. Feel the heat subside, and more importantly, forgive yourself for the slip of the tongue. Feel the smoke dissipate. Hear the rain falling on the scorched leaves, rustling, pattering. Water extinguishes fire. Grace extinguishes resentment. The bright red of anger gradually turns to the gray of ash, and finally, the peaceful black of the wet night. The forest of your mind is now safe. The acrid smell of regret is replaced by the scent of earth after rain, petrichor the scent of rebirth. Kahlil Gibran once praised the cleansing power of tears and healed pain. Much of your pain is self-chosen. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. The fire you just went through, that burning pain, is the bitter potion. But now, the inner physician has completed the surgery. The wound has been washed clean. You do not need to keep that fire anymore. Feel your body cooling down, literally. Hands have stopped clenching. Teeth have stopped grinding. Your tongue now lies still in the arch of the mouth, soft and relaxed. It is no longer a poison arrow, no longer a fuse. It is resting. Silence envelops the forest soaked in night dew. This is healing silence, not the threatening silence of a cold war, but the silence of peace after the storm. But my dear friend, when the fire is out, when the water has washed away the ash, we face a final decisive question for tomorrow. This tongue, the thing that can both set fires and pray, what is its true nature? Why, with the same mouth, do we praise God and curse mankind? This contradiction duality is the final knot we need to untie for sleep to be complete and holy. O traveler seeking the shore of silence, we have extinguished the fire of anger together, and the rain of grace has soothed the burning wounds. But when the night falls deep, when the outside noise completely dies down, a strange concern rises in the hearts of sensitive souls. It is the sadness of one's own contradiction. Have you ever asked yourself, why, with this same mouth in the morning, I can sing praises of life, utter sacred prayers, but by afternoon I can utter complaints, blame, or even curse the circumstances? Why do two people exist within me, one holy and one bitter? The book of James, like a skilled physician taking the right pulse of this internal disorder, has posed a series of haunting rhetorical questions. With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse human beings who have been made in God's likeness. My brothers and sisters, this should not be. Can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? James 3:9-11. Can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? Physically, the answer is no. But psychologically, that is the war you are experiencing every day. The brackish water, the mixture of faith and fear, of love and bitterness, is the unpleasant taste, preventing your soul from finding perfect peace. You find it hard to sleep because you feel inconsistent. You feel like a hypocrite. But wait, do not let self-judgment drown you tonight. Look at this paradox with the eyes of compassion. Where does the salt water, bitter words, come from? It comes from the ocean of pain, of old unhealed wounds, of instinctual defense. Where does the fresh water, words of praise, come from? It comes from the divine nature, from the image of God placed deep within your soul. Kahlil Gibran, who always sought beauty even in imperfections, reminded us that man is not a static creature, but a journey toward purity. In The Prophet, when speaking of good and evil, he wrote, "You are good when you are one with yourself, yet when you are not one with yourself, you are not evil. For a divided house is not a den of thieves. It is only a divided house." Let this saying embrace you. For a divided house is not a den of thieves. It is only a divided house. Your mind right now, where the struggle between fresh and salt water is taking place, is not a den of thieves. You are not evil. You are just a house divided. And sleep, the sacred sleep we are aiming for, is the time to heal that division. It is the time for the house to be unified. So how do we purify this stream? How do we ensure that tomorrow, when we wake up, only fresh water flows from our lips? James suggests we cannot do it by human strength. As we learned earlier, no human being can tame the tongue. But we can do it by changing the source of supply. A fig tree cannot bear olives. A grapevine cannot bear figs. To change the fruit, words, one must change the nourishment of the roots, soul. Tonight, let us practice the filtering ritual. Visualize your heart as a lake. During the day, storms and activities stirred up the mud, making the water turbid and salty. But now, all activity has stopped. Your body lies still. Relax. Your mind stops racing. Exhale. When silence prevails, natural law will take place. The sediment of anger, the salt of bitterness will slowly settle to the bottom of the lake. Whisper this cleansing prayer. Creator, tonight I close the door of words. I stop speaking, stop arguing, stop complaining. I bring my soul to your spring. Imagine a pure stream from above the water of wisdom that is pure, peace-loving, considerate. James 3:17, pouring into the lake of your soul. Fresh water is pushing back the salt water. Gentleness is dissolving grumpiness. Gratitude is replacing blame. Kahlil Gibran once wrote about this silence as the final and truest language. And in the silence of the night, I have walked in your street, and my spirit has entered your houses, and your heartbeats were in my heart, and your breath was upon my face, and I knew you all. In the silence of the night, all words become redundant. We understand each other through heartbeats, through breath. That is the language of fresh water. When you sink into sleep with this mindset, you are resetting your language system. Tomorrow, when you open your eyes, the first word uttered will not be a sigh of salt water, but a greeting of peace from fresh water. Now, let this holy silence take charge. The tongue, the wild beast, is now fast asleep. The rudder, the ship of life, is anchored. The fire, the anger, is extinguished. Only the gentle stream remains, flowing murmuringly in the consciousness. Hear the water flowing, murmuring, gentle. The water is washing away every tension from your muscles, flowing over the forehead, relax, flowing over the eyes, close, flowing over the lips, light smile, flowing down to the heart, peace. You have returned to oneness. You are no longer a divided house. You are a unified block of peace. No contradiction, no conflict, only pure rest. Let that sweet water lift you, buoyant, and gently drift you into the land of wordless dreams. There your soul will converse directly with the loving one, without the limitations of human language. Sleep, O pure stream. Sleep, O cleansed soul. Peace be with you, now and forever. Greetings, warrior of light. Allow me to call you a warrior, because I know that to lie still here, right now, you have fought a long day. You may not wield a sword, but your mind has had to parry thousands of arrows of pressure, expectations, and nameless demands from the outside world. And now, when darkness falls, when the armor has been removed, why does the heart wound still ache? Why can't the silence of the room soothe the noise in your chest? Do you feel an invisible tear? One part of you wants to rest, wants to let go of everything, but another part, more aggressive, louder, is still screaming demands. Do more. Must have that. Why do they have it and I don't? This conflict is the #1 enemy of sleep. It turns the soft bed into a burning battlefield. The book of James, a brilliant spiritual physician, did not hesitate to go straight into the eye of the storm to diagnose this illness. He does not blame circumstances. He does not blame others. He turns the light onto the deepest, darkest corners of our souls with a shocking question. What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? You desire but do not have, so you kill. You covet, but you cannot get what you want, so you quarrel and fight. James 4:1-2. Let every word sink into your consciousness. Desires that battle within you. It turns out, the enemy is not at the office, not at the bank, nor in the annoying neighbor. The enemy lies right in our desires. It is the insatiable hunger. Hunger for recognition. Hunger for possession. Hunger for control. By day, these desires are the motivation that drives you forward. But by night, they turn into peace-eating monsters. When you lie down still wanting to control tomorrow, you are declaring war on sleep. When you lie down still envying the success of others, you're drinking the poison of comparison. How can a soul that continues to quarrel and fight find the shore of rest? Kahlil Gibran, with his piercing insight into the human condition, also saw the tragedy of these bottomless appetites. He understood that when humans overindulge in comforts and desires, they become slaves to the very things they create. In the prophet, he warns about comfort and the desire to possess. Verily, the lust for comfort murders the passion of the soul and then walks grinning in the funeral. The lust for comfort murders the passion of the soul. Reflect on this. Is it true that sometimes the very craving for a perfect, more comfortable life than others is killing the simple peace in your soul? You lose sleep because you fear losing what you have, or fear not achieving what you lack. That lust sneaks into your mind as a guest, then becomes the host, and finally, a tyrant master, forcing you to stay awake to serve it. But tonight, we are here to stage a gentle revolution. We will overthrow that dictator. The therapy for tonight begins with one word: ceasefire. You do not need to achieve what you want to sleep well. You do not need to win the argument in your head to be allowed to rest. James continues, you do not have because you do not ask God. When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures. James 4:2-3. This is the explanation for your exhaustion. You have tried to seize everything by personal strength, fighting and quarreling, instead of asking. And even when asking, we often ask only to satisfy the selfish ego. Wrong motives. Tonight, change the prayer. Do not ask for more material things. Do not ask to defeat enemies. Ask for inner reconciliation. Imagine yourself standing in the messy battlefield of your mind. Two factions, the ambitious ego and the tired soul, are pointing guns at each other. You, as the free will, step out into the middle, raising a white flag. This white flag is not a sign of cowardly defeat. It is a sign of wisdom. It is surrender to a higher order. Inhale deeply. Inhale the acceptance that I have done enough for today. And exhale. Exhale every unfinished ambition. Say to yourself, I declare a ceasefire. Tonight, no fighting, no calculating. Only presence. When you lower your weapon, you will feel your shoulders drop with it. Muscles release their tension. The blood flows slower, carrying safety signals throughout the body. Those desires, no longer provoked or resisted by you, will gradually fall silent. They will retreat into the shadows, making way for a nobler guest to enter. But friend, for this ceasefire to be sustainable, for the white flag not to be lowered as soon as dawn breaks, we need to clearly identify the true allies and enemies. Oh, why are these desires so strong? Because they are fed by a giant external force James calls the world. And befriending this world, ironically, is the very cause that makes us strangers to our source of peace. We are standing in the silence of the ceasefire. Do you feel the space around you seems lighter? But I know, even when you have lowered the white flag of surrender, there are still calls echoing from the other side of the battle line. It is the sound of phone notifications, the fear of missing out, the pressure to measure up to others. In spiritual language, all that noise is collectively called the world. And tonight, the book of James forces us to face a harsh but necessary truth to protect sleep. You cannot embrace the noise of the world while wanting to lie in the peaceful arms of God. Listen to his shockingly blunt warning. You adulterous people, don't you know that friendship with the world means enmity against God? Therefore, anyone who chooses to be a friend of the world becomes an enemy of God. James 4:4. You adulterous people. Wait, do not recoil in offense. In the context of soul therapy, the word adulteress here does not speak of physical acts. It speaks of the betrayal of the heart. Every time you place your security in your account balance instead of God's grace, that is a betrayal. Every time you let the opinions of others decide your worth instead of the Creator's validation, that is an adultery in thought. When you choose to be a friend of the world that is chasing fleeting values, competition, and glamour, you unwittingly turn yourself into an enemy of God. And this is the crux of insomnia. You cannot sleep well in the enemy's house. If your soul is wandering in the land of the world, a place full of insecurity and comparison, you will always feel threatened. You can only sleep well when you return home where you belong. Kahlil Gibran, with timeless wisdom, deeply understood this bond. He knew that true freedom, the prerequisite for deep sleep, only comes when we dare to break up with the soft chains of the world. In the prophet, he wrote about freedom. You shall be free indeed, when your days are not without a care, nor your nights without a want and a grief, but rather when these things girdle your life, and yet you rise above them naked and unbound. Note the image. Rise above them naked and unbound. Tonight, being a friend with the world means letting cares, wants, and grief tie you down to the bed. Conversely, being a friend with God, or choosing enmity with the world, is the act of cutting those cords, allowing your soul to soar, light and free. But why is God so harsh? Why does he not allow us to have it both ways, loving God and loving the world? Is he a selfish God? No, my friend. The answer lies in one of the most romantic and moving verses in the New Testament, a verse revealing the throbbing heart of the Creator. Or do you think Scripture says, without reason, that he jealously longs for the Spirit he has caused to dwell in us? James 4:5. He jealously longs for the Spirit. Visualize this in the quiet space of late night. The tossing, the emptiness, the insecurity you are feeling are actually not a pathology. They are the echo of holy jealousy from the divine. He misses you. He is jealous when he sees you spending the whole day worrying about work without spending a minute talking to him. He is heartbroken when he sees you seeking comfort from a cold phone screen instead of seeking his fountain of love. The pain of insomnia, viewed from this angle, is a call home. It is a sign that your soul is in the wrong place. It is in the arms of the world, but it longs for the arms of its Father. So tonight, let us perform a ritual of sever and return. Visualize the worries of the world as multicolored cables connecting your body out the window to high-rise buildings, offices, and noisy markets. They are draining your energy. Now, use the sword of will, gently but decisively, to cut each cable. Cut the cord of achievement. Exhale. Cut the cord of public opinion. Exhale. Cut the cord of materialism. Exhale. You are withdrawing. You are becoming lonely in the world's understanding, but becoming complete in communion with God. Say to him, God, I apologize for wandering. I apologize for seeking water in cracked cisterns. Tonight, I choose you. I choose to be your friend. When you utter this confirmation of friendship, the enmity vanishes. The feeling of threat dissolves. You are no longer a hiding enemy. You are a returning child, embraced by the Father with all his jealous longing. The peace of belonging is the strongest sedative. You no longer need to strain to prove yourself to the world. In God's eyes, you are already everything. And the greatest news is, when you decide to return, you do not need to climb the mountain of holiness by yourself. God knows you are weak. God knows the pull of the world is strong. Therefore, right after the stern warning, James opens a wide door of hope, a waterfall of grace pouring down to uplift tired feet. But to receive that waterfall, you need a special posture, a posture of bowing down, very low. O soul longing for rest, have you ever observed the flow of water? Water, the softest yet strongest element, always follows an immutable physical law. It always flows to the lowest place. Water never settles on the sharp peaks. It gathers in deep valleys, where it becomes a still lake, nurturing life. Grace, that supernatural healing energy you need for sleep tonight, operates exactly like that water, It cannot settle on an ego reaching high in arrogance. It only pours down, overflows, and fills souls that know how to bow low. The book of James offers a promise, which is also a warning, quoted from the Old Testament like a law of universal gravitation of the spiritual world. But he gives us more grace. That is why Scripture says, God opposes the proud but shows favor to the humble. James 4:6. God opposes the proud. In the context of sleep, pride is not necessarily chest thumping. Pride, more subtly, is stubborn control. When you lie in bed still trying to solve every problem of tomorrow. When you believe, if I don't worry, everything will fall apart. That is a form of pride. You are placing yourself in God's position. You're trying to carry the whole world on your shoulders. And because you stand so high, you are resisting the natural flow. The pressure you feel is the universe opposing your tense ego. Conversely, he shows favor to the humble. Humble in Latin is humus, meaning earth or ground. Humility is accepting you are earth, a creature, limited. It is daring to admit, God, I am tired. I do not know what tomorrow holds. I need you. The moment you admit that limitation, you become a valley. And immediately, the waterfall of peace from above will roar down, filling every empty corner of your soul. Kahlil Gibran, who always found greatness in small things, had a beautiful view of humility. He did not see it as inferiority, but as a way for humans to touch the infinite. In The Prophet, he wrote about self-knowledge. Say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. Say not, I have found the path of the soul. Say rather, I have met the soul walking upon my path. For the soul walks upon all paths. When you let go of the arrogant thought, I hold the truth, I control the path, you truly meet the great soul. Tonight, practice this humility. Do not try to find answers to every trouble. Simply meet sleep, walking upon your path. And for this grace to truly take effect, James offers a specific action roadmap consisting of 2 steps, a dance of freedom. Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. James 4:7. Step 1. Submit. The word submit is often misunderstood as slavery, but in Greek, it is a military term. Hupotasso, meaning to arrange oneself under protection. Imagine a great storm approaching. Submitting means you do not stand exposed outdoors to challenge the storm, but quickly run to hide under God's shelter. Tonight, the act of submit is simple. Relax your body. Let gravity pull you down. Let the mattress support you. Stop bracing yourself. The relaxation of muscles is the declaration of submission. I trust that you are holding me. Step 2. Resist the devil. In soul therapy, the devil here is the embodiment of the voice of fear, doubt, and toxic thoughts. How to resist? Not by arguing with it. The more you argue with anxiety, the stronger it gets. The most effective resistance is ignore and focus. When an anxious thought comes, what if I fail tomorrow? You resist by saying, I am not engaging with you. I am busy resting in God. And what is James's promise? He will flee from you. Fear is a bully. When you stand firm in humility and do not react, it will get bored and leave. Continue listening to the next intimate invitation. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. James 4:8. Wash your hands, purify your hearts. This is the final cleansing ritual before sleep. In ancient times, priests had to wash their hands before entering the holy place. Tonight, your bed is the holy place. You cannot bring the dust of the world into it. Perform the spiritual hand-washing ritual. Gently rub your palms together, or visualize it. Feel the warmth. You are washing away the competitive actions of today. You are washing away the greed to possess. You are washing away the double-mindedness, the hesitation between the world and the way. Now your hands are clean. Your heart is pure. You are down low in the valley of humility. And do you hear that sound? It is the murmur of the river of grace rushing in. It is filling your emptiness. It is watering your dryness. You are absolutely safe, because God opposes the proud standing on the peak, but He wraps Himself around the humble in the valley. When you lie still in this puddle of grace, the sense of time and space begins to shift. Worries about 5-year plans, 10-year intentions suddenly fade. From this lowest vantage point, you suddenly realize a great truth about the nature of life. A truth that can make the fearful ego vanish, leaving only the peace of the present. What is this life really, if not a fragile mist in the early morning? We are lying in the valley of humility, where the waterfall of grace is still flowing. Do you feel the relief of no longer straining to be the God of your own life? But I know, even when the body has relaxed, there is still an invisible clock ticking in your head. The clock of plans, intentions, and fears about the future that has not yet arrived. The book of James, in the final passage of this chapter, gently removes that heavy clock from our minds. He begins by mimicking the inner voice of many of us, the entrepreneurs of life lying calculating in bed. Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow, well, we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business and make money. James 4:13 sounds familiar, doesn't it? Tomorrow I will finish this report. Next year I will buy that house. I must achieve this goal to be at peace. We draw detailed maps for the future and believe we hold absolute control. But that very illusion of control is the cause of stress. When reality does not unfold according to plan, we lose sleep over disappointment and fear. And here, listen to the whisper of truth. A scripture as beautiful and sad as a haiku poem, helping us look back at the true nature of human life. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. James 4:14. You are a mist. Do not rush to be sad or feel empty when hearing this. In soul therapy, the image of a mist carries a terribly liberating power. Mist is weightless. Mist does not have to carry the weight of boulders. Mist flows with the wind, free and serene. When James says life is like mist, he does not mean your life is meaningless. He wants to remind you that life is so short and fragile that spending the whole night worrying about a year later is a terrible waste. Why let the burden of 10 years weigh on the sleep of one night? Kahlil Gibran, the sage who always agonized over time, also shared this profound insight. He understood that human anxiety stems from trying to measure the infinite with finite measures. In the prophet, he wrote, "You would measure time, the measureless, and the immeasurable. You would adjust your conduct and even direct the course of your spirit according to hours and seasons. Of time you would make a stream upon whose bank you would sit and watch its flowing. When you toss and turn, you are sitting on the bank of the river of time and trying to stop its flow. You're trying to measure time. But my friend, you are mist. You belong to the sky. Why tie yourself to dry numbers? So, what is the antidote for the anxiety about the future? James does not tell us to stop planning or live recklessly. He teaches us to change the language of the soul, shifting from arrogant affirmation to humble and trusting. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. James 4:15. If it is the Lord's will. This is the most powerful mantra for sleep. Before you said, tomorrow I must do this. Pressure. Now you whisper, tomorrow, if the Lord wills, I will do this. Peace. Where lies the difference? It lies in the fact that you have handed the burden of result over to God. You are only responsible for the effort in the present. Whether you wake up tomorrow or not, whether the plan succeeds or not, that is the business of the one who holds the breath. When you insert the phrase, if the Lord wills, into the midst of your intentions, you create a safety buffer. If successful, you are grateful. If you fail, you accept it because you know it was not His will. Your mind is no longer locked into a single outcome. That flexibility brings absolute relaxation to the nervous system. James concludes this chapter with a stern warning for those who stubbornly brag about their ability to control. As it is, you boast in your arrogant schemes. All such boasting is evil. James chapter 4:16. Boasting here is not just speaking loudly. Lying in bed thinking, I can handle it all without God, is also a silent type of arrogant schemes. It is evil because it separates you from the source, leaving you lonely and exhausted. Tonight, become a happy mist. Practice the meditation exercise, vanishing into the void. Imagine your body getting lighter. Lighter. You are no longer a heavy block of matter full of to-do lists. You're turning into tiny particles of mist, sparkling under the moonlight of grace. The wind of the Spirit blows gently. You rise. You do not need to cling to tomorrow. You only need to exist fully in the moment of now. Kahlil Gibran wrote about this eternal present moment. Yesterday is but today's memory, and tomorrow is today's dream. The past is just memory. The future is just a dream. Only tonight, only this breath is real. Why trade the real, current sleep for the dream, future anxiety? Let go. Whisper, Lord, I am mist. I appear for a little while and then vanish back to you. In this brief time, let me sleep peacefully in your will. Tomorrow, if the Lord wills, I will wake up. But now I am powering down. Feel the freedom spreading. Nothing left to prove. Nothing left to hold. You are mist. You are earth, humility. You are water, grace. You merge as one with the silent universe. The conflicts of desires have settled. The cords of the world have been severed. The proud ego has bowed. And now time has stopped ticking. Only divine silence remains. Drift away in the mist of surrender. Sleep well, O free spirit. Welcome to the final chapter of the Book of the Soul. Take a deep breath, deeper, and exhale all the dust of a long journey. You have crossed the high mountains of trials, navigated the ocean of words, and traversed the valley of humility. Now, you stand before the final gate leading into the Holy of Holies of sleep. But wait, before stepping through this narrow gate, I see your hands seem to be still clutching something tightly. Is it financial worries? Is it the fear of losing material security? Or is it the insecurity of seeing others wealthier, more successful, while you are left behind? Thoughts of money, of hoarding, of injustice often come strongest when night falls. We lie in warm beds, but our minds wander in treasuries, counting what we have and fearing what we might lose. The book of James opens this concluding chapter with a thunderous voice, as if to awaken souls slumbering in the illusion of materialism. He does not lull greed to sleep. He smashes it so we may find true peace. Now listen, you rich people, weep and wail because of the misery that is coming on you. Your wealth has rotted, and moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded. Their corrosion will testify against you and eat your flesh like fire. You have hoarded wealth in the last days. James 5:1-3. These words sound harsh for a meditation, don't they? Eat your flesh like fire, but look deeper into its therapeutic nature. The fire here is the burning anxiety you feel when clinging too tightly to possessions. When you try to grasp gold and silver symbols of worldly security, you are also grasping their corrosion. What is that corrosion? It is the fear of theft, fear of inflation, fear of loss. The more you own without spiritual freedom, the more you are corroded. Your sleep is eaten by the moths of worry. James wants to tell you, in the kingdom of sleep, gold is meaningless. You cannot take a bank account into a dream. Expensive silk pajamas cannot buy peace if inside is a body tense with ambition. Kahlil Gibran, who always saw freedom in simplicity, had a profound insight into this fear, the fear of lack even when we have plenty. In The Prophet he wrote, "Is not dread of thirst when your well is full, the thirst that is unquenchable? Dread of thirst when your well is full." Ask your heart tonight, is your well truly empty, or is fear deceiving you? Most of our insomnia comes not from the actual lack of today, but from the fear of lack in the future. That is the unquenchable thirst if we keep drinking the salt water of greed. Tonight, the healing therapy is total detachment. Sleep demands spiritual poverty. To sleep well, you must accept being empty-handed for a few hours. You must temporarily divorce your assets. Let us perform the ritual of removing the rust. Buri. Visualize yourself standing before a sacred fire, not a fire of destruction, but a fire of purification. In your hands, you hold heavy blocks. They are the pressure to earn, the debts, the assets you're trying to preserve. They are beginning to rust and hurt your hands. James warns, you have hoarded wealth in the last days. Why hoard for an uncertain future, only to lose the precious present? Why hoard worry, only to lose sleep, health's most valuable asset? Now, throw those heavy blocks into the fire. Do not be afraid. You are not throwing away your value. You are only throwing away the burden of ownership. Look, the fire is burning the rust. The fire is burning the moths. Worries about wealth are turning to ash, rising up and vanishing into the void. Your hands are now empty. How do you feel? Perhaps a bit empty at first, but right after is immense relief. Having nothing to keep means having nothing to lose. And when there is nothing to lose, fear vanishes. Eat your flesh like fire. The fire of anxiety has no more fuel to burn. Your body begins to cool down. In this holy emptiness, you realize a truth Gibran once whispered. You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. Tonight, you do not need possessions. You only need yourself. Offer yourself a naked soul, no jewelry, no status to sleep. That is the greatest gift you can give yourself. James also mentions injustice. Look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. James 5:4. If there is any lingering sense of injustice in your heart, whether you caused it or suffered it, resolve it right now with forgiveness. Do not bring the crying out of grievance into the bedroom, and trust justice to the Lord Almighty. He hears all, He knows all. You do not need to stay awake to guard justice. Say, Lord, I let go of financial control. I let go of grievance. I let go of comparison. I return it all to you. When the hands are completely relaxed, when the fingers no longer curl to grasp, blood begins to flow easily to the fingertips and toes. A feeling of warmth spreads. You have escaped the trap of the miserable rich. You have become rich in faith and peace. And now, when your hands are empty, what will you do? Will you stand there forever? No. When we have sown the seeds of faith, when we have cleared the weeds of greed, the next action is not rushing around seeking. The next action is a supreme art of living, the most beautiful spiritual posture a human can assume between heaven and earth. It is the image of a person standing in a vast field, looking up at the sky, and doing something seemingly passive, yet holding the power to move mountains. Imagine you are standing in the middle of a vast field stretching to the horizon. Night has fallen, covering everything in a soothing deep blue. The air smells faintly of earth, straw, and silence. You are not a lost traveler. You are the owner of this land. You are a gentle and experienced farmer. You have worked hard all day today. You have plowed, sown, and weeded. Your efforts, the worries, the attempts to solve problems during the day are the seeds you have buried deep in the soil of consciousness, and now standing under the starry sky. What do? Do you dig up the earth to see if the seeds have sprouted? Do you scream at the plant to grow immediately? No. You stop. You stand still, and you wait. The book of James paints this beautiful picture as a meditation guide for impatient souls. Be patient, then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. James 5:7. See how the farmer waits. This is not waiting in anxiety, nervously checking the watch. This is the waiting of trust. The farmer knows he has done the human part, sowing. The rest, the most important part, making the seed sprout and grow, does not belong to his control. It depends on the earth and the rain. Tonight, sleep is the valuable crop you are waiting for. You cannot force yourself to sleep, just as the farmer cannot pull the rice plant to grow. Trying to force sleep only creates tension, like digging up the soil. The only thing you need to do right now is practice patience. In the original Greek, the word patience here is macrothumia, meaning long-temperedness before anger or discouragement erupts. It is the ability to keep your heartbeat in sync with the slow rhythm of nature. James mentions two types of rain, autumn and spring rains. The autumn rain softens the soil for the seed to sprout. The spring rain helps the grain ripen for harvest. In your journey of sleep tonight, the autumn rain is the surrender, which we did in point 1. It softens the dry soil of your soul. The spring rain is grace and restoration. It will come while you sleep most deeply, nourishing every cell, healing every neuron so that tomorrow morning you wake up with a bountiful harvest of energy. Kahlil Gibran, a son of the land of Lebanon, where agricultural images saturate every verse, wrote about the sacred connection between humans and Mother Earth. He understood that peace only comes when we stop resisting natural laws and start merging with them. In the prophet he wrote, "And forget not that the earth delights to feel your bare feet, and the winds long to play with your hair." Feel this connection. The earth delights to feel your bare feet. Tonight, let your soul walk barefoot on the field of patience. Do not wear the shoes of haste. Let the earth, God's support, embrace you. Let the wind, the breath of the Spirit, play with your tangled thoughts until they straighten out. You know, the farmer's waiting is a great act of faith. He does not see the seed beneath the black soil, but he believes that life is stirring. Similarly, when you close your eyes, you do not see God working. Darkness covers everything. But the faith of patience reminds you, in that darkness, the miracle of rebirth is taking place. God is rearranging order in your brain, clearing away sad memories and watering new hopes. Perform the ritual of welcoming the healing rain. Visualize yourself standing in that field of consciousness. Look up at the high sky. The starry night sky begins to gather clouds, clouds heavy with grace. And then, one drop, two drops. Feel the cool raindrops touching your forehead, rain falling on tired shoulders, rain seeping into the chest, burning with anxiety. Hear the rain falling, pattering, rustling. The sound of rain is humanity's oldest lullaby. It whispers, "You do not need to do anything. I will water you." The dry earth is drinking every sip of sweet water. Cracks of trauma are being healed. The seed of peace is beginning to crack its shell, stretching soft young roots deep into the soil of rest. James continues to encourage, "You too, be patient and stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near." James 5:48, stand firm, make your heart steady. Do not let the wind of doubt shake you right now. The Lord's coming is near in the context of sleep. This means deliverance, sleep, is very close to you. Just a little more. Do not give up. Do not rush to sit up or grab the phone. Be patient just a little longer. The rain is getting heavier. Let patience become the warmest blanket. You're not waiting in vain. You're waiting in the certainty of the law of harvest. Sow peace, reap sleep. Sow trust, reap restoration. In this space drenched in moisture and coolness, the farmer stands no more. He slowly sits down, leaning against the ancient tree of faith, and closes his eyes. He knows that whether he wakes or sleeps, the rain still falls and the rice still grows. That is absolute freedom. The earth yields crops by itself. Mark 4:28. You do not need to stay awake to supervise this process. But friend, as the rain of grace has begun to fall, there is one final thing that can prevent the water from penetrating deep into the roots. Those are the rocks of resentment and secret complaints we still hold in our hearts against those around us. For this rain to truly bring life, we need to clear those rocks. We need a final reconciliation, not only with God, but with our brothers. In the murmuring rain of grace, do you hear another sound? A very quiet sound, often escaping from our chest just before drifting into sleep. It is the sigh of tiredness, the sigh for unaddressed injustices, the sigh because those around us have disappointed us. The book of James names this subtle psychological state with sincere advice. Don't grumble against one another, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door. James 5:9. Don't grumble. Why does James care whether we grumble or not? Because grumbling is a low-dose poison. It does not kill you immediately, like the explosive anger in chapter 3, but it silently leaks your energy. When you lie down with thoughts like, why did he treat me like that? Why doesn't the boss recognize me? You are keeping the wound open. You're turning yourself into a judge in an endless late-night court. And the reminder, the judge is standing at the door, is not to threaten you. In therapy, it is a liberation. It means you do not need to be the judge anymore. The supreme judge is already handling it. He is standing right at the door. He sees all, knows all. You can clock out. You can take off the judge's wig, leave the bench, and go home to rest. Leave the judging of right and wrong to God. When letting go of the burden of judging others, you will feel so relieved. But what about the burden of your own fate? There are nights when we do not grumble against others, but against life itself. Why must I suffer? Why did illness and loss choose me? To soothe this existential pain, James invites us to look at ancient mirrors, those who have walked through the darkest night of the soul. Brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. As you know, we count as blessed those who have persevered. James 5:10-11. And he mentions a name, a great symbol of human suffering, Job. You have heard of Job's perseverance and have seen what the Lord finally brought about. James 5:11. Think of Job tonight. He lost everything: assets, children, health. He endured long nights in pain, lying on ashes, misunderstood by friends. Perhaps your suffering tonight, however great, finds empathy in him. Job wept, questioned, agonized, but he never abandoned the belief that there was some meaning behind the darkness. Kahlil Gibran, who always saw through the dialectical connection between joy and sorrow, wrote these lines as if for Job and for you. The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being. Tonight, change your perspective on your pain. Do not view it as a punishment. View it as the carving process of the potter, the scratches, the voids that suffering leaves in your heart are there to expand your capacity to contain joy and grace later. Without Job's dark night, the world would never understand the depth of perseverance. Without this sleepless night of yours, perhaps you would never seek and meet such deep peace. And what is the ending of the story? James does not leave us drowning in tragedy. He concludes, "The Lord is full of compassion and mercy." James 5:11. Full of compassion and mercy. This is the destination of all pain. God is not a cold inflictor of suffering. He is the one full of compassion waiting for you at the end of the tunnel. The word compassion, splachna in Greek, implies a gut-wrenching pain of loving a child. God hurts with your pain. He does not sleep when you wake. He counts every tear of yours. Perform the ritual of handing over the case. Visualize yourself standing before a large oak door, the door of the judge. In your hand is a thick file. In it are recorded all the complaints, the injustices, the whys you have cherished for so long. It is too heavy. It makes your hands and heart tired. James says, the judge is standing at the door. He is right there. Place that file down on the doorstep. You do not need to knock. You do not need to enter to present. He knows. Bow gently, turn your back, and walk away. Step out of the court of conscience. Step into the garden of rest. Every step away from that door is a lighter step. You whisper, I judge no more. I grumble no more. I trust in your mercy. When resentment vanishes, a vast space opens in your heart. It is the space of acceptance. You accept that winter is cold, but spring will be warm. You accept that the night is dark, but the dawn will be brilliant. Job was restored double what he had lost. That was not just material wealth, it was a restoration of perception. He saw God with his own eyes. Tonight, the reward for your endurance is God's presence in your sleep. Let the verse, "The Lord is full of compassion," become the soft pillow supporting your head. He loves you. He understands you. He is embracing you. And when the heart is clean of complaints, when the soul has been comforted by the example of those who went before, we are ready for the final powerful action. An action with the power to heal all sickness, connect heaven and earth, and bring total restoration to both body and soul. It is no longer the action of a solitary individual, but a divine resonance. O soulmate of the night, we stand at the sacred intersection between heaven and earth, between consciousness and subconsciousness. You have let go of wealth, learned to wait like the farmer, and shed resentment like Job. Now your soul has become loose soil, clean and ready to receive the final miracle, healing. The book of James closes his letter with a series of powerful invitations, turning your bedroom into a cathedral of restoration. Is anyone among you in trouble? Let them pray. Is anyone happy? Let them sing songs of praise. Is anyone among you sick? Let them call the elders of the church to pray over them and anoint them with oil in the name of the Lord. James 5:13-14. Pay attention to this rhythm of life. In trouble, pray. Happy, sing. Sick, anoint. Whatever your emotional state tonight, there is a channel to connect with the Almighty. You do not need to pretend to be holy or suppress emotions to go to sleep. Bring it all sadness, joy, or physical pain into prayer. Kahlil Gibran, who always considered prayer the breath of the soul rather than a ritual of begging, wrote in the prophet, "You pray in your distress and in your need. Would that you might pray also in the fullness of your joy and in your days of abundance." Pray also in the fullness of your joy. This reminder helps you expand your heart. Do not let tonight's prayer be just a cry for help. Let it be the breath of existence. Inhale life, exhale thanksgiving. When prayer becomes breath, sleep will come as naturally as a heartbeat. And now pay special attention to the healing ritual James mentions. Anoint them with oil. In ancient culture, olive oil was not just medicine, but a symbol of the Holy Spirit's presence, of soothing and sanctification. Tonight, perform the meditation ritual of spiritual anointing. Imagine a warm, fragrant stream of oil, radiating a gentle golden light, being poured onto the crown of your head. It is the oil of peace. Feel that stream of oil flowing down, flowing over the tense forehead. All wrinkles relax. flowing over tired eyes, eyelids heavy, pleasant, flowing down the ears, worldly noise blocked, only silence remains, flowing down the neck, shoulders, arms, all burdens slip away, flowing down the heart, belly, legs, whole body enveloped in a protective cocoon. And what is the promise accompanying this ritual? And the prayer offered in faith will make the sick person well. The Lord will raise them up. James 5:15. The Lord will raise them up. This sentence has two layers of meaning. The first is healing from sickness. The second, deeper for sleep. God will lift your soul out of the swamp of anxiety. He will revive your spirit after a night of complete rest. But for this healing to flow freely, James offers a final condition, an act of courage and connection. Therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. James 5:16. Confess so that you may be healed. Do not misunderstand. This is not a court to punish sin. This is a clinic to heal. The sins here can be mistakes, regrets, dark secrets you hide that make your heart heavy. When you keep secrets, you keep sickness. When you confess to God or to yourself in truth, you open the pressure valve. Tonight say, Lord, today I was angry. I was jealous. I admit this weakness. The moment you admit it, the pressure drops. Healing floods in. And to make you believe that your weak prayer has the power to change reality, James tells of Elijah. Elijah was a human being, even as we are. He prayed earnestly that it would not rain, and it did not rain. Again he prayed, and the heavens gave rain. James 5:17-18. Elijah was a human being, even as we are. He also had moments of depression, fear, wanting to give up. But his prayer closed and opened the sky. You too. You are human like Elijah, and your prayer tonight has the power to close the sky of anxiety and open the sky of sleep. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. A righteous person is not one without faults. It is one who has been forgiven, has let go, and has placed trust in God. Tonight, you are that righteous person. Now, look back at the farmer's field. The early rain has passed. Now is the latter rain. Elijah prayed and rain poured down. Let your prayer tonight fling open the doors of blessing. Hear the rain, no longer a heavy downpour, but a gentle mist penetrating deep into the heart. Each drop is a blessing, peace, forgiveness, love, rest. Our journey through the 5 chapters of James is complete. We turned trials into joy. We turned faith into resting deeds. We tamed the tongue. We humbly submitted. And now we lie still in patience and prayer. If any of you have wandered from this truth, James gives a final message. Remember this: whoever turns a sinner from the error of their way will save them from death and cover over a multitude of sins. James 5:20. Tonight, you have returned. You have been saved from the death of insomnia and despair. God's love has covered over all your faults. You are completely enveloped. No crack remains for the devil or fear to creep in. Your body is now heavy, sinking deep into the mattress. Your mind is empty, light as mist. Your soul is anointed clear as crystal. Let me count the final steps taking you into deep sleep. 3. The rain of grace is lulling you. All senses close. The outside world dissolves. 2. You are drifting toward the warm light of the Creator. You belong there. 1. Sleep well. Sleep very well. You deserve to rest. Amen.